Hello people listening, how's it doing? Today I'm talking about a very serious thing. This day 75 years ago was the poor Clares incident, or fire if you want to call it, say it by that. And basically, if you don't know what poor Clares is, it used to be a convent for girls back in the 1940s during World War Two and before World War Two. And I'm going to talk about it. It's 75 years to this day, poor Clares happened. And I'm going to talk about what happened. People probably don't know what I'm talking about, but just bear with me. It's about the Catholic Church and all that, and I explain it the best I can. So, there was a fire on the 23rd of February 1943. So basically this day, in 1943, and 35 children died, and one adult employee. I'm going to tell you what happened to these kids, and I'm going to tell you what happened from my side of the family, because my great, I think it was uncle, I can't remember, but my father told me the story when I was younger, and I'm going to talk about that. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is, it was obviously run by nuns. Ireland was ruled by the Catholic Church. The state had no power against the church, because Eamon de Valera was Taoiseach at the time, and the church could get off with anything, because if he was in power, he would get off with anything. But so basically what I'm going to say is, there was a fire. It was 2 a.m. in the morning, right? Everybody was asleep, well, apart from the nuns who were up. The fire broke out, I think it was in the basement or either the loft. They still don't know to this day where it broke out and what caused the fire. They never know what happened to the caused it. And basically 2 o'clock in the morning, right? The girls were in their nighties and dressed night clothes, let's just say that, and the fire broke out. The nuns knew there was a fire, and in that knew no one that they were going to be born. Either the nuns were going to be born with the children. They wouldn't let the children out, so they locked the children up. The reason why they locked them up, they didn't want the men that was trying to break down the door, because they went out the door and locked the door after them. The nuns got away. Every nun got away except one of the employees, as I said. Not even the nun, but locked the door. And men, you could literally feel the burning down the street, because it was that intense. And the nuns locking the door and leaving the 35 children to burn to death. When I mean literally burn, I'm going to even tell you a story about it. I mean that they literally were bad bitches. That's what I'm literally going to say. I mean, what kind of church does that? Lock the children into absolutely get burned to death. Literally, these 35 children, along with the employee, got burned to death. Literally, crucified to death, because it was such intense heat. And as you know, back then they didn't have fire brigades and everything, that they try and get buckets of water and fire it onto the fire, which was not good, because the only fire brigades were in the cities. They weren't in the towns and villages of Ireland and outside of the cities. But them 35 kids burned to a crisp. I'm not even kidding you, burned to a crisp. The fire was so intense that there was nothing nearly left of them. The bones were literally crucified. And even looking at my face there a second ago, you could just see the terror in my mind just looking. I could just imagine it. There's pictures of them taking out some of the bodies, and there's just nothing. There's nothing left of them. That's literally, and all the nuns got away. And the thing is, I'm going to tell you a story. As I said, my great uncle was there. He was up the town. He came up the town. He was there that night of the fire. Well, not that night, after, actually that morning. But he recalls people in the pub when he was there 3 days later afterward. He recalls people going with axes and the nuns stopping them from knocking down the door. The people of the town were trying to get in to save the children, because the nuns were blocking them from going in, which was even 10 times worse, locking the door and then blocking them from going in, because saying that this was the way it was supposed to be. No, if God says it's supposed to be, because these children have done wrong or something like that. They started chatting and all that. But the men didn't have anything. They just pushed the nuns to one side, and then they would keep getting in their way, and they couldn't get to the girls. That's what I'm trying to say. And they didn't go well for the nuns, because they wouldn't let them, and didn't get a good reputation afterward. But as my great uncle said to my father when he was younger, before he died, he remembers going up that street, main street, the old main street in Cavan. He remembers going up it that the next morning, and you could smell the bodies burning, the flesh just burning all across the town, because it was that intense. You could just smell the flesh, and the fire was still going a bit. Like, you could just smell the burning of flesh, and you could just smell it, and it was awful. He said to my father, it was awful, because you could just, anywhere you went around the town, even outside the town, you could just smell it. And you can feel the dread of the children who died. And you can feel the fear, that's what you say. Like, I suppose in a way, we have to look at I obviously doing this video just to remind you the power gets to people's heads. Like, these nuns were never convicted. Pure and simple. These nuns were let slide, literally forgotten about. The nuns were literally let away. They were let go somewhere else. They weren't left in Cavan, they were left somewhere else, and they were completely unscathed. The Irish Free State never took any action against them. They never even looked at them. They just let them off. And that was murder. Obviously that was murder. Locking them in and then stopping people from going to save them. Like, that's complete murder. Not even one nun died. This was only a caretaker that died. I know it was a cook, sorry, so I'm not caretaker. But it was just a disgrace. Like, we take at this now, looking back 75 years ago, and we think to ourselves, how could they let this happen? Why did the people not do more? The thing is, the church had more say than anything else. At least now I could speak out again. Years ago you couldn't speak out again. But as I said, we have to try and remember what happened. Because these nuns are nothing but bad bitches, and that's really as simple as that. There's nothing really else to say. Like, these nuns should have been burned at the stake. Because that was pure evil what they done. I'm literally not going to deny it was pure evil, and I'm not going to take up for the church. And I think that if Pope Francis ever does come to Cavan, I'd be one of the people who will shout at him, what about poor clares? I want answers for poor clares and for the families. There's still families living around Cavan who had people who died, but these were orphan children who done nothing wrong and who were burned, and these nuns were let off the hook. I don't even know, there could be one or two who are still alive. It's 75 years ago. And the only thing I say to them nuns is, I hope they have a misery life, because this is such a misery what they done. If I wouldn't mind if they done these adults, but these are children, people who had lives ahead of them. And then just to let them burn. I wouldn't even wish that on my worst enemy. At least I would let him out. I might kill him outside, but at least I let him out. Because I wouldn't let anybody burn to death. That's just pure evil. Letting somebody just burn to death. And I just want to say to everybody, I hope everybody remembers them tonight and prays for them. And hopefully they are peace. It might not be good peace, but at least hopefully that peace, and hopefully the church will acknowledge that there was wrong done in poor Clares. As I said, 75 years since poor Clare disaster. And we should never ever forget it. Because if we forget about it, the church will come back into power and it will happen constantly again. So, as I say, remember poor Clares. Never forgotten. Always remembered. Thank you.